Welcome back to Breakfast with Bob, Boston Marathon Edition, presented and hosted by Highlands. Stop your cramp, not your race. And by Polar, chase your destiny. With me now, only one of my favorite people on the planet. He ran 59:43 to become the only American at that time to go sub 1 hour and set the American record. 2:04:58 here in Boston. Multiple-time Olympian, 10th at the 2008 Olympics in Beijing. How you doing, Ryan Hall?
Good to be here with you, Bob. Thanks for having me on the show.
I love it. We go back a lot of years.
Yeah.
I remember doing a radio interview with you right after 59:43.
Yeah, you have a lot of history on the radio with some of those epic interviews. I remember going back through your archives and listening to some of them, being like, man, there's some epic interviews.
There's some good folks there.
Yeah.
And you're the guy now that everybody goes, I heard that epic interview with Ryan Hall back when he won 59:43.
That means I'm getting super old.
Nah. So how did that change things for you when all of a sudden 59:43? Because obviously you'd run at Stanford, you had a good career going up until then, but that was pivotal.
It was big for me. You know, like when I got into the sport when I was 13, I felt like God was telling me He gave me a gift to run with the best guys in the world.
Right.
But up until that point, I hadn't really been doing that. And then when I ran 59 minutes for the half marathon, at the time that put me in the top 10 of like all-time performances ever in the half marathon.
Right.
Which now, you know, there's a lot of guys running those times, so it's no longer in that category. But at the time, is like, oh, I've arrived. Like I'm running with the best guys in the world. And before that, I was planning on going down to the LA Marathon, running my debut marathon there. And then after Houston, the doors open for London. And my first marathon, I'm racing against Paul Turgot, Khalid Kanuchi, Haile Gebrselassie, Felix Limo, like all the best guys in the world.
You're looking around. You got an all-star team. And I remember one of those races with Turgot. I think you had dropped, and then you bridge back up, which never happens in running. It's not like you're running against chopped liver. You're running best guys in the world. They drop you, and then you bridge back up, and Turgot comes up to you afterwards and sort of did the old swirly.
Yeah. Yeah, he came up to me on my head, and he was like, you did so great. Wow. And I was just like, I can't believe this is Turgot doing this to me right now.
If it was anybody else, I'd kick their butt.
Like,
But it's not. It's Turgot. That's all right. So then everything, you 2:08:24, fastest debut marathon, and then you go to the trials in 07 for the 08 Olympics, 2:09:02, fastest time ever, U.S. Olympic trials. You win that, and then you go to Beijing. What was that Beijing experience like?
It was a hard one for me, like coming off such big early success in the marathon. I was just really hoping that the Olympics was going to be another big step up,
right?
So I was really trying to shoot for the podium and train super hard for the race, but any endurance athlete can probably relate to this. Like, for whatever reason, things just weren't clicking like they had been for previous marathons, and I didn't know what it was. My coach didn't know what it was. It's just like kind of the mystery of running. It's like sometimes it's going well, sometimes it's not, and unfortunately, it wasn't going great going into that. And it's funny for me to look back on it now, being like, well, 10th place in the Olympics isn't that bad. But at the time, like, I was super bummed out afterwards.
You're there for the podium.
Yeah.
There's no question about it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, I remember you telling me when you were younger, you would have a big race, and Dad would come over and say, listen, Ryan, it's not that big. Nobody in China cares about what's happening today.
Yeah.
And then you're there in Beijing, in China, and you're thinking, Dad, that ain't going to work today. Everybody is watching.
That
and
was
everybody
the
in
one
Cheney,
line that did no longer work.
Did not work right there. But after you do the Olympics and get 10th, how do you now you got to get ready for the next season, next Olympics. What were your thoughts after that? Sometimes you can have a tendency to go, I need to train harder.
Yeah, I was bummed out for a while, for sure. But I talked to so many great athletes on the U.S. track and field team. I remember talking with Bernard Lagat one day over breakfast, talking to him about his training, but then also talking to him about what does he do after his biggest race of the season. And he's like, I take like a month off and I get super fat and like all this stuff. So I remembered that conversation, and so afterwards I took a big rest, which is exactly what my body needed, and slowly got back into training. But it took a while, that was a big downer for sure. But one thing that helped was getting perspective on life. So right after that, my wife and I traveled to Zambia to a water project that we'd helped raise money for with Team World Vision.
Yeah.
And that just totally got my mind back in the right spot. It's like at the Olympics, it feels like the whole world is revolving around you in this one day, in this one race, this one moment. And then I was in Zambia, and
People don't know the next couple waters coming
yeah, and I'm running next to these people who are running barefoot on the street or running with like flip-flops on, and they don't have access to clean water, but we were able to bring clean water to them. Now they're living 10 years longer than they otherwise would. So stuff like that, you're like, okay, running, it's special and important and can be used for some really good stuff, but it's not like as big of a deal as I've been making it out to be,
Right.
training for this Olympic Games.
It's interesting. I remember Chrissy Wellington, the 4-time Ironman world champion, she told me that the reason I do this is to have a platform.
Yeah.
I want to have a platform because people will listen to me. And her thing was getting women into sport, getting women into triathlon. And you've always been that guy. I remember back with Josh Cox back in the day, you guys were always about, can we use this sport to change the world in a positive way?
Yeah, for sure. Because like I said, I've experienced it both ways. You
Right.
know, I experienced it just doing it for me, my own performance, and it's not super satisfying to do that. But when you actually impact someone else's life, it's always satisfying, and it's always a win. You know, like I was saying with running, a lot of the time it's a mystery. It's like, I don't know how I ran 59 minutes in Houston. Like, it just happened. But it can go the other way too, where like you're like, man, I did everything right, and I came out with a big loss on this day and didn't do what I want to do. But if you're running for a cause, for a purpose, like, you know that your race is impacting someone else's life, whether or not you run well or not.
So talking about impacting lives, it's one thing to say, you see a lot of parents go, you know what, we've raised our children, and now we want to give back. We're going to go adopt a child out of Russia or China or wherever. You and Sarah adopt 4 young sisters from Ethiopia, and you didn't have any children of your own at that point.
No.
But what led to that? That's a major life-altering decision, financially. And it's not like you're doing this when, okay, I'm a multimillionaire, I'm a tech startup, and all this stuff. What led to that?
A lot of it came back to our running, and I think my distinguishing thing about me that made me different from other runners was just being fearless, not being afraid to fail.
Yes.
And when you're taking big risks, you have to kind of have a level of fearlessness. And I felt like that with the girls. I try and never make fear-based decisions, meaning I don't let fear direct where I'm going to go. And the only reason why I could think to not adopt our girls was because I was afraid of my own inexperience, my own ability to be able to provide, all the, there's lots and lots of fears that come with it.
Sure.
But I was like, but what do I want to focus on? And that was like, I feel like God put love in my heart for the girls, and so I was like, that's what I'm going to have direct this decision. And I'm so glad we did it, because they've just been such a blessing to us, and our life is totally full of joy and dance parties and all kinds of stuff in our house now. So
you're outnumbered.
Oh yeah,
it's 5 to 1,
there's
man.
a lot of estrogen going on in my house. Yeah, so I had to get into weightlifting just to offset that a little bit.
So I talk to people every once in a while about how there's a point of diminishing return as a runner or a triathlete. I've seen it. Pete Jacobs, a triathlete, I think he's done 35 Ironman. And pretty much you can't compete at a high level after that many. And I saw Rob Costello back in the day, and you could see at the starting line that he didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And with you, from 2007 to 2011, I think you ran like 9 or 10 marathons, all of them 2:12 to between that and 2:04:58.
Yeah.
Do you feel that, hey, listen, like you said, you have to be fearless.
Yeah.
You need to sort of smoke them when you got them.
Yeah, totally.
I'm at the top of my game, I'm going to race. And you raced a lot, you raced fast. Could you have strung out the career by racing less?
That's a good question. One I've thought about a lot, And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. The only way would be to go back and try it out, know. I think the mistake I made was getting too far away from track fitness. I think if I had retained my 5K fitness longer, I think I could have run a lot longer. But really what started was I got plantar fasciitis training for the 2012 Olympic trials, ran the trials with it, trained for the Olympics with it, and I just threw off my mechanics, my stride. I was altering it just slightly.
Because you knew you had to put the workouts in.
Yeah, I had no choice, unless I was going to not run the Olympic trials.
Yeah, which you knew you had, and then once you make the team.
Yeah, and plus with plantar fasciitis, I've talked to my friends, they take a year off for
It's
it,
brutal.
come back, and they still have it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm not just going to take time off till I'm not feeling it. But at the same time, then that caused a whole string of injuries after that, where tore this quad,
Oh,
got
did
the
you
stress
really?
reaction.
Oh,
Yeah,
my
it's just
God.
thing after thing where I would sign up for Boston or New York and have to drop out before the race started, with injuries. So, it was just a big kind of tailspin from there, unfortunately, and led me to the point to where in 2016 I was training for the trials and just having real problems with fatigue. My body was just drained. It gave me everything it could give me, and I was like, it's time to start giving back to my body now.
Well, you think about it. You got into it. Well, how old were you?
I was 13,
13.
So 20 years.
You had 20 years. You had how many sub 212 marathons or 212 and under?
I don't know.
Yeah, a bunch.
Yeah, a bunch,
right?
yeah.
A bunch. you at least, it was like 9 or 10 sub 212s. And when you look, we're here at Boston Marathon, and you had some fun events here, right?
Yeah.
209, your third, 209.40, 210, fourth, 208.41, 211, fourth, 204.58.
Yeah.
Okay. 204.58. And then I think when you came, it's not like you were sprinting towards the finish line.
Yeah.
Right? You probably could have gone a couple seconds even faster than that.
Yeah.
Is that mind-boggling to you that you ran 204.58 and that's still the fastest time an American has run?
Yeah, it is crazy. I remember being at a mile to go and looking at my split, and it was exactly 2 hours on the nose. And so I was doing the math in my head, and it's not too hard of math to do. I was like, if I run my last mile under 5 minutes, I'm run 204 and whatever change, and it's gonna hurt really bad because I was already in a world of pain, as you can imagine.
And at that point, you're not going to win the race.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I wasn't that close to the third. Well, I wasn't too far off third place, but he was 4 or 5 seconds in front of me. But I was like, or I could just jog it in like 5:30 pace and like really enjoy the last
Wave the
mile.
crowd,
Still run 2:05:30, and that'd still be a big PR and still an amazing experience. But I knew, I was like, I might not ever have this chance again. And I'm so glad that I put my head down and ran that last mile hard, because I didn't ever have that chance again.
So when you decided that you're going to move into, getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because Josh Cox,
Yeah.
Lucas Verzbickas, it's like you guys were always the skinny guys.
Yeah.
And was that sort of the impetus? It's like, I've always been this skinny guy. I want to become a big guy.
Yeah, a little bit of it, like every time I was around someone who's big and strong, I was like, I wonder what that feels like, because it's so opposite to distance running.
Yeah.
But really, a big part of it for me is, like I was saying, my body was so depleted because the level we train at is not super healthy, and it's not sustainable. And my body's just like, you got to give me something back. So I started eating more than I was when I was running, even though I wasn't running, and doing weight training and building my body back up, getting it strong. And I feel so much better now just walking around. My day-to-day energy is 100 times better than it was when I was running professionally. And that's what I want now as a dad. And I'm starting to get into coaching now too. So I want to have energy for my kids and my athletes. And also, it just feels good to be strong.
Bigger.
Yeah.
You're what, 180?
180 now, yeah.
And what were you, when you were your peak running, what were you?
Well, before I retired, I got down to 127, and that might have been part of my problems. I was too lean.
Light.
Yeah, too light.
And
so it wasn't
but
healthy.
if you're a runner, you're thinking you're never too light.
Exactly, and that's a bad mindset to have.
You have to be strong.
You got to find what's right for you. You can't be looking at guys around you and be like, oh, I got to get to his weight, because that does not work. You got to find what's right for you. If I could go back and do it again, I would park it at, I always race well 137. I would just park it there and be like, I'm not allowing myself to get leaner than this and lighter.
So 2014, the year after the bombings, Meb takes off, right? And you're an American. You want an American to win. What was going through your mind when Meb took off early?
Yeah, really
early, right? And I think a lot of guys in the field didn't think, 38, 39 years old, he's not going to be a factor, he's going to get a little camera time, American. So were you thinking, you know what, if we keep this pace nice and mellow, sort of like in cycling, maybe Meb can get a gap?
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't my first thought, I'm be honest. My first thought was like, I want to go get him, and I did that for, I forget how long, a mile or two. And then I was realizing, like, we weren't catching up, and I was like, Meb is not only an American, my countryman, he's like my friend. He's like
your teammate from Team from Mammoth Track Club.
We were neighbors, and we're friends with his family and stuff. And it's like I wanted him to do well, you know. And so I was thinking, like, well, if I can't catch back up, then I don't want to be pulling the whole rest of the field, keeping them close to Meb within striking distance. So I was like, this is stupid. Like, I've seen the Tour de France enough to know if you're in the peloton, you have someone in the lead, you don't chase. Like, you
block.
let everyone else do the work.
Yeah.
So I was like, I pulled off to the side and I was like, I'm not doing any more work. Like, I'm gonna run as slow as they want to run, and the pace just dropped off dramatically in our chase pack. And then some of the other American guys started to catch up and go to the front and start to push. And I started talking to them. I was like, guys, what are we doing? Like, we have 2 Americans in the break.
Yes.
Like, if they go 1-2 and we're number 3 in this chase bag, that's an amazing day. Like, today is not the day for us to lead.
Did
this
they back
chase
it
bag.
off?
So I was impressed by their humility to actually listen to me and be like, okay, yeah, he's right. And then they'd get out of the lead and the pace would slow down. And in my mind, I'm thinking these guys are making a huge mistake. Like, they have no idea. I mean, they did. They should have known. I mean, Meb's a silver medalist in the Olympics and
New York City
Marathon champ. Like, you don't let a guy like that go. But they weren't willing to do the work to stay close. And Meb, ran a brilliant race. I mean, he had to push all the way to the finish line. It was all him, but it was nice to feel like, I could take part in his victory as his teammate, countryman, and be like, yeah, we got it today as a country.
I remember, and you always did well in races that had pace setters, right?
Yeah.
You like that, right?
Yeah.
Where you just should put your head down and go, rather than more the tactical, this guy's made a Kenyan guy's going off the front.
Yeah.
What was it about that type of racing that you liked?
I always wanted to see how fast I could run a marathon.
Right.
Like, it drives me crazy to watch races like the Chicago Marathon this year, where it's a flat, fast course, perfect day to run, and they're going out. I forget what their split was, like 64, 65 minutes. It might have been 66. And I'm like, guys, this is a marathon race. I don't want to see who can run the last half the fastest, or the last 10K, or the last 5K. I want to see who is the best marathoner on today. And the only way to figure that out is to make it fast from the beginning. So it frustrates me now, even still, to watch these slow races, and that's part of the reason why I want to get back into coaching and coach some guys and be like, guys, we're going to go to the front and make this thing honest, because
I love it.
That's what got me going. That's what my heart beats for. So
I remember interviewing Alberto Salazar years ago, and he said the biggest mistake he made when he was a 5K world record holder. That's when he, ran as fast as marathons.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake he made was replacing speed with volume.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden he started thinking of himself as a marathoner rather than as a 5K guy. And once he did that, he felt he lost his edge.
Yeah, for sure.
You feel the same way.
I wish he would have told me that.
It was in the interview. I figured you should listen to that interview. That always stuck out to me. It's like when I thought of myself as a marathoner, because you're not running as fast.
Yeah, no, you got to have speed as a marathoner. If you're going to compete at the highest level, you got to be a really almost world-class miler.
Yes.
So I know. I wish I would have done the same thing.
But when I look at there's certain athletes, Scott Tinley, a Meb, who go 20 years.
Yeah.
Right? They are 20 years as a pro. Very rare.
Those are outliers.
But the meteors of the world, yourself, a Chrissy Wellington, 2007 to 2011, both of you, 2007 to 2011, pretty much gone.
Yeah.
Because I laid it on the line, went as hard as I could. My body basically told me it's no mas. I said no mas. It was time to move on. So everybody's career is a little different.
Yeah, and you see that a lot with a lot of the Kenyan runners.
Totally.
They'll just blow up and run ridiculous for a while. And this isn't all Kenyan guys, but for the most part, they train. It's because they train super hard and really aggressively. And like I said, it's not sustainable for a long time to do that. But it's how you get to that level. You can train at a lesser level, but the chances of you getting at that super high level are not as good.
So you see because you're doing the strength stuff, you're obviously probably still have a little fast stuff in the legs. Any Spartan races, any Tough Mudder, any triathlon?
No.
You've done enough of that.
No,
putting numbers on.
Yeah, I'm not into I have my own personal records in weightlifting and stuff, and I go after those. I'm super passionate about getting my bench up and squat.
What are you
and deadlift.
benching?
I just hit 300 for the first time. So.
Huddle, did you hear that? Ryan Hall is benching 300. Okay, squatting?
360.
Yeah.
And deadlift 380.
Oh my God! And your goal is to get to 200 in terms of weight.
200 pounds, yeah. But I want to get my bench to 400. That's my goal. So, but it's going to take like 5 years.
You
at
think
least.
so?
Yeah.
400.
Yeah.
Huddle. Can you do 400? You think? I love that.
Yeah.
You're amazing.
Well,
it's so fun.
It's a way for me to stay true to who I am, which I love pushing myself physically. I could no longer do that with running, but with the weight training, I get to do it. And I actually like it better because I get to go hard every day, just change the muscle groups I'm hitting. Whereas in running, you're only going hard like 2 or 3 days a week.
Now, a lot of those injuries from running, gone?
Yeah, actually, most of them are. Like, I remember the upper hamstring injury I had in the London Olympics that I had to pull out for. That would always just be throbbing if we were driving anywhere. I was sitting on it for a long time. I don't feel that anymore, I think, because of the heavy squatting that I've been doing and stuff. Some of the other stuff, a little bit of aches and pains here and there, but not anything as bad as how it was when I was, at the tail end of my career.
You have people come up to you and go, God, you look a lot like Ryan Hall.
Oh, no. So just on the airplane on the way here, we're standing up at the end of our flight, and the people were sitting right behind me, and, we saw each other and stuff.
Yeah.
They're chatting to each other as we're waiting to get off, and they're like, do you remember the year in 2011 we had that wicked tailwind? I remember watching Ryan Hall, and he was running super fast, and I was cheering super loud, and I'm standing literally 6 inches from them, and they had no idea it was me.
So, you love that.
I get that all the time. All the time.
Funny.
It's funny. People are like, you look like a different person. I'm like, well, I kind of am. Added a half a person on me.
You know what? We still need to get you down to San Diego for San Diego Triathlon Challenge.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
It's the 25th anniversary this year.
Oh, nice.
Bring the girls.
Yes.
That would be.
They love San Diego.
And they would love, 120 challenged athletes, and it's very, very special.
I need to get down for that.
We do.
Yeah.
Ryan Hall, I always am honored when you take time to chat because you're and you need to come back to Kona and check that out too.
I know. I love Kona. Yeah, my kids are always asking to go back. We did a trail race there with Muscle Milk a couple years back, and they just fell in love with Hawaii. So.
It's the best.
Yeah,
and Meb was just there.
Oh, was
he? Was on the Big Island. Oh. I'm like, Howie told me Meb is over on the Big Island. I'm like, what? And he turned out to be the same hotel I was.
No way.
At the in Waikoloa, at the Waikoloa. And he's going on the water slide, and so I started spreading the rumor. Meb's here scouting because he's going to do Ironman. We love to see that.
Yeah. I'd like to see Meb swim.
No,
I think
no. We did have him on set up on a bike, and then his bike got stolen, so he didn't have to worry about that. But we're getting him set up again.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Ryan Hall has been our guest. Hey, enjoy the rest of your time here. It's nice that you don't have to wake up Monday and go do a run.
I know. I'm very chilled out, very relaxed, very different from my.
What was your favorite Boston experience?
Probably 204 year, 2011. I just remember standing on the starting line, Hopkinton, seeing the flag, just going the exact direction we're about to run. And I was like, man, this is special. I remember Bill Rogers told me, he's like, about once every 10 years, you get a wicked tailwind.
Wicked.
Yeah, and that was the once in a 10 years. And I was like, oh, yes, finally, I hit it right.
The other thing that always impressed me with you was a lot of guys didn't understand that as a runner or a triathlete, you're an entertainer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you loved in Boston when a lot of the guys are, I don't want to give away my energy.
Yeah.
Right? I got to keep it all internal. And you're high-fiving people and running through.
Yeah.
That was important to you.
Yeah, well, it helped me, like the energy of the crowd. I feel like if you just try and zone it out, you can, but then you're not going to get the energy from them. And I love to just get that energy and use it. So it made sense to me, and I think it's fun for the crowd too to actually feel like we were acknowledging them.
The other thing is you look back, Dina Castor, Ryan Hall, Meb Keflezighi, at the time you guys moved to Mammoth, U.S. running was in the crapper, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, you're running, you're 204.58, and then Meb's getting a silver and winning New York, and Dina's getting a bronze, and things are changing. And you guys were all part of that. You should be proud of that.
Yeah, we are. And now I'm inspired myself, so I'm actually going to start a professional training group in Flagstaff, Arizona.
Love it.
Just keep it small, simple, but really high level. Try and get some guys going and taking a crack at 59 minutes in the half marathon, getting under 2:05 in the full marathon. Like, I'm really inspired to share all the things I've learned on my journey and pass that on and make my ceiling my athlete's floor.
You found during that time that running with a group made everybody better.
Yeah, it definitely helps. I mean, most of the top athletes in the world are coming out of groups. And I didn't always have that, but that's one of the things that maybe I kind of regret a little bit.
Moving away from the group?
Yeah.
I think if you had stayed with the group, I think your career was great as it was, but being with that group, because there's days you don't feel good.
Yeah.
But a lot of the stuff too is you had real injuries.
Yeah.
You might have pushed through those and gone earlier.
Yeah, true.
You don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
I love it. Ryan Hall, as always, thank you so much for taking time.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bob.
Love it. And say hi to the girls.
Yeah,
How fun is that? Ryan Hall has been our guest. Breakfast with Bob, Boston edition. That is it for today. We're presented and hosted by Highland, Stop Your Cramp, Not Your Race, and by Polar, Chase Your Destiny. Check us out tomorrow morning. Full star-studded group. Until next time, see ya.